right. Welcome, everyone. Happy Math Crush Monday. I'm so glad that you're here. And I want you to raise your hand if you've ever gotten to around March or April in the school year and you're panicking. And you're panicking because you can't fit it all in. You realize that you're behind on units, you're behind on pacing, and based on what's coming to the end of the year, testing, all of the things, you're not going to finish curriculum in time. My guess is most of you are raising your hand because it happens to all of us all the time. So I have a solution for you, at least something that will make us feel better about the situation and have a plan, because we all know that failing to plan means we're planning to fail. So having a plan in place so that we can avoid that March, April panic is a really good idea. So my friends, happy Math Crush Monday. I'm Shannon Kiebler. If you don't know who I am, thank you to those of you who are on our website right now joining us, those of you who are in our Facebook group, our Math Expressions user group on Facebook. We're excited that you're here. I am the creator of the Math Genius Squad, a K-6 membership, professional development membership for those of you who use Math Expressions. And we're talking tonight about how we actually plan with Math Expressions for the entire year. So if you have specific questions, please drop those in the chat. I'd love to hear them and be able to address those concerns as quickly as possible. Also, let me know if you're in your first year of Math Expressions, your 10th year of Math Expressions. Some of you are my OGs. You've been in for like 15 years. Okay, so let me know how long you've been teaching, especially if this is in your first 1 to 3 years. I think that some of these tips will be extra helpful for you. But if you are an OG and you have been using expressions for a really long time, you probably still feel like you still can't quite fit it all in. Okay, so let's talk about what this is going to look like and how we're going to plan our year. So I'm going to give you some steps here. So write these down so that you have them. Okay, so step number 1, of course, you need to decide what your priorities are. And I mean that because in terms of for the year, like where are you going to put all of your eggs? Now, I don't suggest you put them all in one basket. Okay, I suggest that you do have multiple different areas that you're focused on, but you might have, like as a school, a geometry focus, and you know that you really have to be more intentional. Well, you might have to do some breaking apart of units and whatnot in order to get more spiral review in for geometry versus just waiting to the end. Maybe it's a number sense goal. Okay, so based on your school academic goals, your school achievement plans, whatever it is that you have, you do want to know what your priorities are, because that's going to help you build up enough time to meet those goals as we make this plan. Okay, so step number 1, I want you to decide what your priorities are. Step number 2, I'm going to have you do a year at a glance planning. So when we do a year at a glance, this is what prevents the meltdown in March and April. Not to say you're not going to be behind, okay, but at least you know where you're at. Especially if you're a new user, it's really hard to know where you're supposed to be. Like, am I behind? Am I ahead? Am I going to make it through? Because you have nothing really to base it on. Well, even those of you who've been teaching for a long time probably have some similar thoughts. Like, I feel like I'm spending too long here, or I feel like I'm supposed to be going quicker or spending more time here. So we're going to create a year at a glance guide. And here's how we're going to do that. We're going to do that by taking our school calendars. Okay, so step 3 is I want you to get your school calendar. Now, this is the calendar that has the days off. It has your field trips. It has your testing days. It has everything that you as a teacher build your year around. Okay, you want that school calendar in front of you. Then I want you to have a blank calendar, and I want you to fill in the blank calendar with all of those school dates. Now, if you can fit everything on one, of course, just use one calendar. But for most of us, we actually have to create a second calendar and fill in those days off and the field trip days and whatever. But one of the most important pieces for this is that you don't plan on days that you actually don't have. Okay, so it's like completely unrealistic for you to think that you have math on let's say a field day, okay, in the spring. If you never have had time to have math on a field day, it cannot count as an instructional day. So we're not building this year at a glance out of hopes and dreams. Okay, we want to build this year at a glance with what's realistic. Like when do I teach math? Now, that being said, we do have to have a little bit of a reality check, and math is a core concept. It's a core subject. So we don't just don't teach math on Halloween, and we don't not teach math on the day that we get art. Okay, so for some of you, that is like a reality. Like there are times where you're like, well, we just don't teach math on Wednesdays because that's when the art teacher comes. And I'm like, sunshine, there's other things you have to take off because my ELA, my math, which ELA includes writing and reading, right? Those are not like those we have our standards are too deep. We don't get the opportunity just to like not teach math that day. So the expectation is we are teaching math every single day for 60 minutes. And if you have that amount of time, then this plan is going to be effective for you. If you have less than 60 minutes, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to fit in all of your units and all of your lessons. So that's like one of the first things we have to do. We have to make sure we have enough time on the calendar. So don't forget that if you are grades, let's think about this, grades 3 through 6, you need 60 minutes. If you're K2, you actually need 70 to 75. And that's just for core math. That's not intervention for any grade. That's not tier 2, tier 3. That all has to happen outside of that core instruction. Okay, so we always want to start with time. And we want to make sure we have enough time as per the publisher says it takes, you and I knowing it's going to take even more than that. So if you don't have at least that much amount of time, you're going to be in stressed out zone most of the year. Okay, so we want to make sure we have enough time built into that master calendar. And we want to make sure that it is part of our plan that we're teaching math every day. There are always exceptions. We do have field trips. We do have things like field days, but if there has to be something that's cut, it's not math. Okay, so I mean, that's just got to be a priority. If math goals are your goals, if you're trying to improve your math scores, you got to have more time. So now that you have that and you have your school calendar and you have a blank calendar, okay, you fill in your blank calendar with all of those days that you just know that math instruction is not going to happen. Now you're going to go through and you are going to map this out. Okay, so let's look at what this next few steps are going to look like. So you have your blank calendar. Okay, now you can see here, I have started to map out my units. So in the first few pages of your teacher's edition, it depends on which copyright you're in. If you're in like a 2015, it's around Roman numeral page 30 is your pacing calendar. If you're in the 2026, you're around the introduction pages, I 16. Okay, so it depends on which copyright, but go to the first pages and there is a page in there in the teacher's guide that says, we think unit 1 is going to take this many days. We think unit 2 is going to take this many days. Okay, now that's what the publisher suggests. So I would take the publisher recommendation and then I would say, now based on what I know, okay, real life tells me that lesson 5 is going to take at least 2 days. So generally speaking, I say don't spend more than 3 days on a lesson. If you spend more than 3 days on a lesson, you're panicking and you got to move on. Okay. 2 days, there's several lessons I think are more like a 2-day lesson, but remember that concepts build over time. So it might be that I don't teach everything in that lesson because I'm building the concept over multiple days, but I may not spend 3 days on one specific method because I know the concept is being built literally for multiple lessons. Okay, so you would go through your teacher's guide and you say, okay, well, the publisher says that unit 1 takes 23 days. I look through and I think I need to pad a couple days for a few lessons where I put sticky notes last year that I just know, like it's harder. It's going to take now more time. Okay, so you plan that in. You're like, okay, now I'm at like 26 days. And then you always plan a day for your reteach after every quick quiz and after the unit test. So if there are 3 quick quizzes, you have also built in 3 reteach days. Okay, so that means we just went from 25 days to 28 days for that unit. Because after every quick quiz, which is included on the last day of a lesson of a big idea, we stop and we reteach during core. Okay, we make sure that that chunk of learning, we have some time to do some double dosing and some reteaching. Then we go to the next big idea. We teach that. Then we stop, we give a quick quiz. The next day, we do not continue on instruction. We stop and we reteach. You need one of those days for every single quick quiz. Then you get to the unit test. You're going to build in no more than 2 days for the unit test. Ideally, you only need 1. Okay, because we might have to pare down some assessments. We can't spend that much time assessing. Okay, so you have your unit test. Many of you are going to build in a day of review. That's up to you. And then you need to have at least 1 day that you're building in after that for your reteach, because you have to reteach now based on the unit data. So now you might be up from 28 days. Now you're like 31 days. Okay, so now you're at 31 days. And if you notice my calendar, let me show you a picture of it again. Okay, I'm pulled it in. Okay, so unit 2, and I'm thinking my quick quiz 1 is going to be here. Then I have a reteach day. Okay, quick quiz 1, reteach day. Then I teach. Oh, I'm going to have to give that quick quiz 2, and then I have a reteach day. Remembering, quick quizzes do not get their own day. Okay, a quick quiz happens on the same day as a lesson. You don't have time to do that. I built in my field trip. Okay, you can kind of see where I'm mapping out here. So I'm going to map that out, but on my image here, I've done it with pen. I want you to do it with pencil because you're gonna might have to go back. So you could, after you put your field trips, all that stuff on the calendar, go count how many instructional days you have. Then you're gonna go to unit 1 and you're gonna put, we need 31 days for this. You're gonna go unit 2. Okay, I mapped it out. I think we're gonna need, best case scenario, 31 days. You're gonna do that for every single unit. You're gonna compare that number of days with the number of instructional days you just counted on the calendar. Okay, if there's more days in your pacing than there are instructional days, you got to go revisit that pacing. Like, oh, well, okay, I can't really spend 2 days on every single one of those lessons I pointed out in unit 1. Like, where, based on your priorities, can you give a little bit? Okay, because if you can't get it to fit on an instructional calendar at the start of the year, on what planet are you going to be there in March and April? Okay, you're not. So you want to be able to have something that you're like, it's not ideal, but if I took some shortcuts here, or I didn't actually give that day 2 days, or whatever it is, okay, I could fit it all in based on this calendar. Okay, or you know what, I'm gonna have to have math on that field trip day. I don't know, you do you. Okay, so regardless, you want to see how many days you actually have. Now I go put it on the calendar. So I said to do it in pencil because sometimes you start mapping this all out and you're like, oh no, I have to take away a day. And then you have to shift everything around. Okay. So I would add up all those days, add up your instructional days, see where you're at. Once you know where you're at, now you know where you have some wiggle room. In most cases, when I've done this, I've ended up with between 5 and 10 extra days. Well, then I'm like, okay, I had like my best case scenario and my worst case. So there's some of your districts, I've done this with you. Like we've kind of done it together. And I've had teams go through and say, okay, what is your best case scenario? Like if time was not an issue, how much time do you really feel like you need for this unit? And let's say they say 30 days. Okay. And I'd say if you had to get it in less and you took some shortcuts and like you just, it was like minimum, like bare minimum, how many days do you get? And let's just say they say 25. Okay. You take your bare minimum and you take your best case and you meet me in the middle. And you say, okay, I'm going to give you 28, right? So we're going to map this out for 28 days. If by the time we're done with all the pacing, I have an extra 5 to 10 days, I'm going to go add 2 more days to get my best case scenario, right? And I'm going to go pad it in the units where I'm like, I just know this unit's going to take more time. If I need the time, that's where I want to pad those extra days. Now, other people think about it just a little differently. They'll say, so as a guideline, Expressions has you mapped out for around 100, it depends on the grade, but around 150 days. Okay, so when they gave you the publishing suggestions, that's what they have it as. Most of us have 180 days of instruction. Okay, so now you add in some days you may not have math, you add in some testing. Okay, let's just say you have an extra 15 days. Well, no one ever really ends up with 15 extra days. If you do, you could definitely be doing some more reteaching and stuff along the way. But if you had 15, I've had some teachers that take the front of their teacher's guide and they make like a tally mark. Okay, and they do like 15 tally marks and they don't actually pad those units yet. They kind of just wait for like emergencies to happen. Okay, so they've mapped it out with kind of their minimum days and they have these extra days. And then they say like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of unit 2 and like I just had no idea like this was going to be so hard for them. I need one of those extra days. And so they cross off one of those extra days or those 15 tally marks in the front of their teacher's guide and they put it into this unit. They use them up. But by crossing off those tally marks, they're very aware of, oh my gosh, I only got 5 more days, like extras left. I only have 3 more extra days. And they're just a little bit more strategic about when they're using them because they know I just don't have endless amount of days just to do whatever I want. So most people do better if they have that do or die mentality. Okay. I wish you could teach every unit to its full breadth and depth and time was not an issue and you could get every kid mastered on everything. You and I, we don't really live in that world. Okay. So I say, if you say that October 1st is when you've said, okay, unit 1 has to be done. Let's hypothetically say that. Okay. By October 1st, unit 1 is over. You don't just keep teaching because you still have more to do on unit 1. So what that means is that when you're like 2 weeks left until October 1st, and you're like, man, I don't know, I got to be done with this by October 1st. And you're looking at the lessons left, like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. You make a pacing change then. Okay. You decide now in this unit, where am I going to have to give and take because I really need to be done by October 1st, right? So I might not do the last lesson of the unit. In math expressions, that's a problem solving, applied mathematical practices. I like the unit. I think it has a lot of value, or that lesson. But if I had to take one, that's probably the one I'm going to take away. I may have to take, instead of teaching all 4 methods, I'm going to teach the first 3, because usually the 4th one is the most standard traditional algorithm, not usually a required part of the standard. I may take that day and just make sure they really have time to get one of these other methods. So I'm going to make some other shifts in the moment, but I don't wait until my pacing calendar says you're supposed to be done with it. And I'm like, oh, rats, I still have 2 more weeks to teach. Okay. You'll never make up that ground. So if you can say on, like, that is a kind of a do or die date, you won't run into the March, April problem. Okay. So it doesn't mean you're going to feel great about it, but do you feel great now when you even overteach it? And my guess is no, like, you never really feel good about it. So looking at this, let's remind ourselves, okay, you do this first draft, you fill in all those dates, you count the units, you mark off each unit, and then you repeat it for the entire year. Then you do that second draft. Okay. And the second draft is, now you're thinking, did I put those extra days where my school priority or my state or testing priorities are at? So if I end up with some of those extra days, where should I put them to really get the most bang for my buck? Okay. So you would fill in more of those that time. So that's how I think you do your year at a glance. Now, if you come join me for our unit planning workshop, so if you're a Math Genius Squad member, you get one of these complimentary. Please go sign up. You have a code from your school, go sign up. They're in August. If you're not a part of the Math Genius Squad, 1, you should be, okay, because all these things are included. But 2, you can just go sign up for this and not even be a member. And we're going to take the test together, and we're going to learn the math from that unit and really think about what are the most essential things that we need for this unit. That will help you make some priority conversations and decisions during the unit. Even if you've taught the unit 100 times, okay, well, I'm guessing you've not taught it that many times, but even 20 times. I promise you, in these unit planning workshops, you're going to get something from it where you're like, whoa, I think I've been prioritizing the wrong thing. Or I didn't realize that method was more important than this method. I could have saved some time there. Okay, so come to my unit planning workshop, go to empowerlearngrow.com. You're going to click summer series at the top of the page, and you can go see all the dates that we're offering that. It's 2 hours online with other teachers, only at your grade levels. Like 2nd grade teachers come, we plan with just 2nd grade teachers, and I teach you the math and give you all the resources for that unit. Okay, it's highly, highly suggested. So to wrap up, friends, when you do a year at a glance and you plan the year for the whole year, it just gives you a little bit of peace of mind. Like, you just know, like, even if you're behind, at least you know you're behind, versus just going in blindly and just seeing how it goes, and I'll just teach the unit how it goes. Like, well, they need that much time, so I gave them that much time. I just wish we had the luxury. Okay, we have too many standards. So instead, we're going to make some other sacrifices along the way, but at least I would know that I'm behind, versus it's almost like that not knowing exactly how far behind until I get to like spring, and I'm like, oh man, I've got 4 units, I'm not going to get to them. That's bad news bears. So friends, I want you to take the year at a glance, go put it on a calendar, so you just have an idea. Like, at least if I do it like this, I know I'm going to fit them all in. And if I don't, I know what's going to have to give and take for me to get the biggest priorities in for that year. All right, let's see what questions you have. Ask me a question. I would love to answer. You can tell how hot it is based on my hair right now. All right, let's see what questions you have. Put them in the chat. I'm going to check our Facebook group as well. If you have specific unit questions, grade level questions, happy to answer. Otherwise, you're going to go to empowerlearngrow.com. Go sign up for those unit planning workshops. There's 4 dates to choose from in August. It's a great way to get some support for every unit. All right. Any other questions? Okay. I'm not seeing any, friends. Give it one more second here. Any question at all? This is the time. Oh, good. Here we got something. How does planning backwards fit in here? Oh, such a good question, Bianca. So this is the first step to backward planning, right? Is making sure that your units fit on an academic calendar. Now, for some of you, your districts do this for you, okay? But then you're going to backwards plan every unit, and that's what those unit planning workshops are. So now when you backwards plan a unit, you start with taking the test yourself, and now you start learning that particular content for that unit. You are very clear about what the standards are, what the methods are, and how to teach them. So now you take unit by unit. You say, okay, by the first big idea, when I give that quick quiz, here's all the things that kids have to know, understand, be able to do. Here's how we're going to build, draw, write, talk about this concept. Then you plan the next big idea, but you do it at a unit glance. So you start with that unit test. So you're very clear. By the time this unit is over, what is it that kids have to know and how are they going to have to show their thinking? So backward planning is now fit into this. You already glance first, and then you'll go backward planning for every single unit. Great question. Any other questions? Facebook, I know you're always a little delayed. So if there's a question that pops up, I'll go respond and answer after we're done. You're welcome. Okay, Jody asks, do you do unit planning for all units or just unit 1? Oh, I have a unit planning workshop for all units. It's just the unit 1 happens to be the most popular because people don't have to find subs and they're usually while people are in summer break. So that's why I usually recommend that one. And starting off with a bang is always a great idea. Like, let's start the year off right. But we actually have unit planning workshops throughout the whole year for every unit. And a lot of schools and districts will buy them because it's on-demand PD. So they'll usually do like a roving subs. Like the second grade teachers will come in, they plan with me for an hour or 2 hours online with other second grade teachers. We do the whole unit planning together, that backwards planning that Bianca was referring to. And then that sub are covering those 2 classes. Then the subs change and go to third grade, and third grade comes and they do the 2 hours with me. So the unit planning workshops actually happen all year long. I think right now you can only see the first couple units, and then we're releasing the dates for the other units as we go. So if you're a Math Genius Squad member, you can sign up for any of the unit planning workshops. You just have to make sure you get a sub coverage. Your principal will pay for that, or sign up for the unit planning workshops that happen in your time zone after school. Because like, for example, in second grade, Jody, it's at different times. Like in unit 1, second grades might be at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, but by unit 4, you get the 4 o'clock slot and it might be an after school time. That makes sense. Yeah, my help. So that's unit planning workshops, and you can find all of those online, Jody, under unit. I think it should be on Empower, Learn, Grow under that summer series. If you don't see them there, just send me a message and I'll send you all the other dates. Happy to. All right. Any other questions? All right, friends, I think that's what we got. Happy Math Crush Monday. Thanks for joining me. Stay out of the heat, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.